Okay, this is Lab 6, Objective 1. And in this lab, we were taking a servo and programming it to certain angles and allowing it to show via the servo that the servo measures where it is based off of a potentiometer that's built into an integrated circuit within the servo, and sends a signal to the servo motor and tells it to go to the certain degrees based off of values that we program in, as you can see in the coding. And once programmed, in the basic operation of it allows it to simply function as if it's going off those values, as you can see in this. And as you can see, based off of the written values that are on the code, the servo interprets that and allows it to turn to different angles. Okay, this is Lab 6 Objective 2, and in this one we no longer have written values in that substantiate where the servo is to go to. In this one, we actually have programmed the servo to run through a potentiometer. And basically what the potentiometer does is, based off of the position of the potentiometer, is where the position of the servo goes. As you can see with the map values of between 0 and 1023 is the potentiometer values, and the 0 and 180 is the values of where the servo will go in location based off of an 180 degree rotation, because the potentiometer does not rotate the entire way around. And now I will demonstrate. And then as you watch the potentiometer over here turn, it allows the servo to turn along with wherever the value of the potentiometer is wherever the value of the servo is. Okay, this is Lab 6 Objective 3, and in this objective we were to make a button that would allow the motor to go forward and a button that would allow the motor to go in reverse. And essentially we're using the servo main right function, and we set the value to 140 for the forward state and 20 for the reverse state. And in order to do this, we used an if statement, 2 push buttons, and a DC motor this time, and not a servo. And within my coding, I established the button states, and I did an if statement and an if else statement. And as you can see down here below, you see the if statement and the if else statement, and then the else statement. And basically what that allows you to do is, whether or not you are pushing the button, it's either high or low, and based off of that it receives a signal and sends the value to the motor depending on which button is pressed. And for demonstrational purposes, as you can see here, if you press this button, it goes one direction and stops. You press the other button, it goes the other direction and stops. Press them both, it does nothing. And within the coding, I wrote it so that it wouldn't do that. And there's your 2 functions of forward and back. Alright, this is Lab 6 Objective 4. And basically what we had to do for this was to allow a push button to start and stop the motor, and then also a potentiometer to allow a variation of speed as if it was like a conveyor belt, and you would want to be able to start or stop it, and then you would also want to be able to vary the speed of the belt. So in essence, you servo main to start it, and then also you have to give all your constants, which is your start and stop button, your potentiometer, what pin it's in, and then you have to do a map value based off of what the potentiometer is doing as far as what its value is in contrast to the value of what you want the motor to be speed wise. And then I used an if and an else if statement to start and stop the motor, and then I used the map value to identify where exactly the potentiometer would be in order to determine the speed of the motor. And for demonstrational purposes, go ahead and get you. Mine's kind of running a little iffy, but it does work. And then as you can see, you variate this, and it slows the motor down. It doesn't like whatever I'm doing with it, and then for some reason it doesn't want to necessarily speed back up right until I reset it. There's your stop button function, start button function, back to full speed, down, back up. It doesn't want to necessarily go back up for some reason, but as you can see, the start and the stop function work. The start function and the potentiometer, stop, start, full speed. We'll go back to full speed and go down, go back to full speed. Been having a little bit of issues with it. It doesn't necessarily like this operation. It's functional, but it's not liking whatever it is.